Well, good morning. It warms my heart to be sharing the path with all of you this morning. I'd like to open with a little parable, a little Buddhist parable. Noticing that his father was growing older, the son of a famous or infamous burglar asked his father to teach him the trade so that he could carry on the family business after Dad retires. The father agreed, and that night they broke into a house together. Opening a very large, ornate chest, the father told his son to go inside and pick out the clothing. As soon as the boy was inside, Dad slammed the trunk and locked it, and then made a whole bunch of noise to wake everybody in the house up, and then scurried away. Locked inside the chest, the boy was angry, terrified, puzzled as to how he was going to get out of this mess. He heard the people upstairs all shouting and yelling, and things were starting to happen. So quickly, he suddenly got an idea, and he started making cat noises. Meow, meow. He could then hear the father ask the maid to go downstairs with a candle and check out what the cat had gotten into this time. As the maid came down with the candle, she approached the chest where the cat noises were coming from, and when she opened it, the boy blew out the candle, jumped out of the chest, pushed past the maid, and ran out the door. By this time, though, there were people running after him. And as he approached a well on the side of the road, as he was running away from everybody, he picked up a large rock, dropped it into the well, and hid in the bushes nearby. All the people running up heard the big rock hit and splash in the bottom of the water and stood around the well, thinking that the burglar had drowned themselves out of shame. The boy, finally coming in the door, was very angry with Dad, and he commenced to telling Dad all of the things that he had to go through, and Dad said, "Stop. I am not interested in the details of the adventure. You are here. You have learned the art." The idea behind the story, of course, is not to advocate burglary. The idea is that there is no substitute for experience. Similar teachings in the Kalama Sutra apply. The Buddha taught that experience is the teacher. And it applies to not only learning an art or anything, it applies to everything. It applies to all experience. So, how then do we apply this teaching to Facebook, the nightly news, the constant parade of headlines across all of our devices and screens? How about more specifically, the current policy and practice that we see about everywhere of separating families, immigrant families at the border? In multiple conversations this past week or two, not only with the TBC Sangha, but with the greater Sangha, this discussion has come up. The policy towards immigration and towards separating families and children. I'm not making a political statement here. What I'm talking about is direct experience. How then do we apply this teaching to these issues of Facebook and the nightly news and all of our devices? With so much media bombardment, we are often left feeling helpless. We are given just enough information to fuel the imagination and are often left feeling alarmed or frightened. Sadness, anger, frustration. As adults, we are a little better prepared to deal with this than our youth. And look what's happening to our youth. Depression, suicide, shootings, anger, frustration. Our society is dealing on a monumental level with these things. And one of those factors is what I'm talking about right now, this bombardment of media. It's not our direct experience. This leads me to the title of the talk today, Mr. Wilson's Barn. And here's what I mean by this. Knowledge is responsibility. I'll say it again. Knowledge is responsibility. When you see something occurring and it is perceived as an injustice or a tragedy or a great ill or harm, you have the knowledge. You've just been given the knowledge. And knowledge is responsibility. This brings me to Mr. Wilson's barn. There is no doubt in my mind that everyone in this room, if we go back to a simpler time, if everybody in this room was part of a village, part of a smaller sangha of people, and you were told that Mr. Wilson's barn just caught fire, there's no doubt in mind that every one of you would be there as fast as you can to do everything that you could. Gathering water, throwing water, helping get animals out, comforting the Wilsons, taking care of the children. You do everything you could. There's not a doubt in my mind. But these things that we are being told are not Mr. Wilson's barn. They're happening thousands of miles away. And they happened a couple days ago. When we are there, helping to put out the fire at Mr. Wilson's barn, to comfort Mrs. Wilson, to gather water, to save the animals, we are engaged in a shared experience. The three jewels are there. Sangha, we are present with each other. We are sharing this experience together. Dharma, experience is truth. So therefore, you're there in the experience. You are in truth. You are in the Dharma. And our Buddha nature, we are present with each other. Buddha nature is presence, pure, unadulterated presence. But when we are witnessing these things occurring on our devices, on Facebook, on the television, newspaper, magazine, it's not our direct experience. None of the three jewels are there. Your sangha is your cat sitting next to you on the couch as you're looking at the television screen. That's who's present. The truth, the Dharma, what you are feeling right now as you are staring at a box with flashing pixels on it. That's truth. So the point that I would like to make is that knowledge is responsibility, and the natural, innate desire to help, that's here and now. But we're left feeling helpless. We are left feeling frustrated, angry. I too have felt these as I'm watching what's going on the evening news, and I've discovered that we're taking children right out of the arms of mothers, sometimes 3 and 4 years old, and they're being bussed away into the system, and they're getting lost. What comes up for me? Sadness, anger, outrage. And as I took it to the cushion, as I took it to the seat, and I sat in noble silence to examine the truth of what's happening, that was not my truth. That is not my experience. My experience, several things came up. Number one, I noticed that as I would binge watch these articles and then dig deeper and find more on the internet and read about it, and then look at the Facebook posts and feed into the commentary, the story, and the judgmentalism, I found self-righteousness. Man, could I stand on a soapbox now? Those guys are wrong. Those guys are heinous. Those guys have no heart. They deserve to all be deposed. Ah. That was truth. The second thing that came up for me as I took this to the seat and I noticed what was going on, I noticed that those are not my experience, that I'm only being told, I'm only hearing about it, seeing snips and clips of these different things. And if you're in this room right now and you have had a direct experience with this, that is a different thing altogether. What I'm talking about is the majority of people who are being bombarded by media and all these different scenes, video clips, and pictures. It's as if the father simply told his son about the family trade, never giving him the real experience. It's no different. We're only being told about what's happening. And so what happens here now is that we are left, because knowledge is responsibility, we are left feeling helpless. We are left feeling outraged. We are left feeling anger. And then we take that out into the world. We take that into our conversations. We take that into our Facebook posts. This can be the edge of our practice. Sitting in sacred silence, examining truth. What comes up for you? Where does fear, where does anger, where does frustration manifest in this body? As we explore these difficult emotions, we purify fear, greed, hatred, and delusion. And when we purify these, we can realize our true nature, who we really are. And then what arises is compassion and love. Only when we purify the fear, the frustration, and the anger, only this way can we feel compassion. Only this way can we feel gratitude when we look at our own children who are safe. Brene Brown interviewed some immigrants who have suffered greatly at the hands of many of these policies. And the woman said to her, I don't need pity. I don't need sympathy. What I need for Americans to do is to look at their own children, hold them in their arms, and feel gratitude for their safety. In this way, we bring compassion into the world, not fear, not anger, not frustration, not self-righteousness. In this way, we bring compassion for all beings involved in these scenarios, from the agents who are physically taking 3-year-olds from their parents, to the people making the policy, to the people who are outraged at what's going on. Compassion arises, and we bring this into the world. Not more of the same, not more anger, not more frustration. when we sit and we examine truth from this place, we can now take action from a place of love. This is engaged Buddhism, and it is fierce. Action from anger is short-lived. Action from fear is misplaced. Action from frustration is confused. Action from love and compassion is fierce. From that place, we can then move where our heart takes us to whatever it is we need to do. I have provided a sheet in the back. And on this sheet are addresses of various organizations that help immigrants in our country, 501c3s that know exactly what to do and are there having the direct experience. If you are moved, you may give to them. You may find out when the next flight is and go and join, and thereby have the direct experience. And on the back of that sheet is an acronym called RAIN. RAIN is a concept coined by some Western Buddhists at Spirit Rock that talks about dealing with difficult emotions. RAIN is an acronym that stands for recognize what is happening right now, investigate what is going on within this form, allow this moment to be what it is, and then practice non-identification. This body feels the anger and the sadness, but that's not who you are. We have a body, but we're not our body. We have feelings, but we are not our feelings. We have thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness of what's going on in this direct experience now, not 3 days ago, 2,000 miles away. Those stories take us out of our body. And that's much of our problem in the society. We're all out of our body, too busy blaming, too busy yelling, too busy thinking that this is the right action to save America, and never fully checking in with what we are feeling and experiencing in this direct moment. So, play with me for a moment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. And I want you to be present in a small village where there is a fire that has started at Mr. Wilson's barn, and we are all there. Everyone. Some folks are running to the stream, gathering water. Others are grabbing the bucket and tossing it on the fire. Some of you are saving the animals. Some of you are comforting the Wilsons. Can you feel that? In the same way, right here in Kansas City, there are immigrants, there are homeless people, there are people suffering that can use your smile, that can use your pat on the back, a helping hand. When we come from a place of love and compassion, we act locally, and we bring love, compassion, and help into the world. But when we are glued to a screen and we are out of our bodies and we are feeling sadness and frustration and anger, we are bringing that into the world. Come back to the village. We're comforting the Wilsons. We've saved the barn. The animals are getting rounded up. And we are assuring the Wilson family that tomorrow we will all be back, repairing the barn, bringing food, sharing in Sangha, making of ourselves a light to the world.